Imagine a doctor reading a chart, looking at the blood work of a little girl. The results don't make sense. There's a chemical in her blood, an aggressive compound that attacks the cardiovascular system, a poison that has absolutely no business being inside the body of a child. And then, a chilling realization. It's the exact same poison that killed her mother years earlier. Except, the mother's death was officially ruled a heart attack. How could this be possible? What kind of person would poison a child? And could it all be part of a twisted plan to cover up a murder from the past? In the small town of Mount Holly, North Carolina, Joshua Hunsucker wasn't just a husband and father, he was a local hero. As a flight paramedic, his job was to swoop in during moments of crisis and save lives. He was trusted, respected, and admired. His wife, Stacy, was equally beloved, a dedicated preschool teacher and a loving mother to their two young daughters. From the outside, they were the perfect family, living a perfect life. But that idyllic image was a carefully constructed lie. In September of 2018, the facade didn't just crack, it shattered. Stacy Hunsucker, only 32 years old, died suddenly and unexpectedly in her own home. But when paramedics arrived, they didn't find a frantic, grieving husband. They found Joshua, a trained first responder himself, who was unnervingly calm and collected. He told everyone who would listen that it was a tragedy, but not a surprise. He explained that Stacy had a pre-existing heart condition, a pacemaker, and that her weak heart had finally, tragically, given out. He expertly used his wife's own medical history as the perfect cover story. Citing overwhelming grief, Joshua insisted he couldn't bear the thought of Stacy being cut up for an autopsy. He pushed for her body to be cremated immediately. To some, it seemed like the heartbreaking request of a devastated husband, trying to protect his wife's dignity even in death. But to a select few, it looked suspiciously like a man in a desperate hurry to burn the only evidence of his crime. Stacy's mother, Susie Robinson, saw what others missed. In the weeks that followed her daughter's death, she watched her son-in-law, the supposed grieving widower, and saw no signs of sorrow. Instead, he moved on with shocking speed, quickly introducing a new girlfriend into the very home he had shared with his wife and children. And then came the money. Just days after Stacy's death, long before the family had even processed their loss, Joshua filed to collect on her life insurance policies, $250,000. This was no heart attack. Stacy's mother felt it in her gut. Driven by a powerful intuition that something was terribly wrong, she filed a complaint with the state's insurance commission, accusing Joshua of fraud. That single act of a mother's conviction would unravel everything. Investigators began digging, and against all odds, they found a miracle. Because Stacy had been a registered organ donor, a single vial of her blood had been drawn and preserved by a donation agency before her cremation. It was the one piece of evidence Joshua couldn't destroy. Investigators sent that vial to the lab, and the results came back with a bombshell. This was no heart attack. Inside Stacy's blood, they found impossibly high levels of a chemical called tetrahydrozoline. Her blood contained 30 to 40 times the normal therapeutic level, a massive overdose. It was a dose designed not to treat, but to kill, a lethal, untraceable poison. On December 19, 2019, the hero paramedic was exposed as an alleged killer. Joshua Hunsucker was arrested and charged with the first-degree murder of his wife. The motive, prosecutors argued, was the $250,000 life insurance payout. The weapon, poison hidden in plain sight. It seemed like an open and shut case, but Joshua wasn't going to jail quietly. He posted a massive $1.5 million bond and was released. And the moment he was free, his behavior started getting far more bizarre and far more dangerous. Investigators began looking into other strange incidents surrounding him. One story, from just weeks before his murder arrest, suddenly seemed sinister. A medical helicopter was forced to make a daring, high-risk emergency landing in a Charlotte car dealership parking lot, its cabin rapidly filling with thick, acrid smoke. For years, it was just a bizarre local news story about a lucky escape. But now, police made a stunning announcement. They believed the fire wasn't an accident. They alleged it was arson, deliberately set by one of the paramedics on board, Joshua Hunsucker. They theorized it was a desperate, chaotic act of self-sabotage, a way to create a distraction as he felt the walls of the murder investigation closing in around him. Out on bond and awaiting his murder trial, Joshua's focus turned from creating chaos to eliminating threats. The key witnesses who could testify about his behavior and his marriage were Stacy's own parents. He allegedly began a disturbing campaign of intimidation. He was accused of stalking their house, lurking in their church parking lot, and making crude, threatening gestures at them, often chillingly, while his and Stacy's own children were present. Then, in 2023, he made his most audacious move yet. Joshua called the police with a wild, terrifying story. He claimed his father-in-law, the grieving father of the wife he was accused of murdering, had kidnapped him at gunpoint, pistol-whipped him, tied him up with zip ties, and injected him with an unknown substance. He was trying to paint himself as the victim of a vengeful, violent plot. But when police investigated, they found zero evidence to support his story. Instead, they saw it for what they believed it was, a calculated, cynical ploy to discredit the people who held the key to putting him behind bars for life. But if framing his in-laws for kidnapping was his plan A, Joshua allegedly had a backup plan. A plan so monstrous, it's hard to comprehend. A plan that used his own daughter as a pawn. This brings us back to that little girl, rushed to the hospital in 2023, suffering from a dangerously low heart rate and extreme exhaustion. Doctors were baffled, so they ran extensive tests on her blood. They found two things that should not have been there: a powerful antidepressant that is not approved for children, and the very same chemical that killed her mother years earlier, tetrahydrozoline. The diabolical nature of the weapon was finally laid bare. Tetrahydrozoline is the active ingredient in common over-the-counter eye drops. It's odorless, tasteless, and easily slipped into any drink. In small doses, it gets the red out. But in large doses, it viciously attacks the heart, causing cardiac arrest. It perfectly mimics the symptoms of a natural heart attack, a perfect poison for a paramedic who knows exactly how the human body works and how to fool it. Prosecutors allege this was the final, desperate move in his monstrous game. By making his own daughter sick with the same unique poison, he could create a false pattern. He could then claim that her grandparents were the ones poisoning her, which would lend weight to his insane lie that they were also somehow responsible for his wife's death. He was allegedly using his own child as a piece of evidence, risking her life in a twisted attempt to save himself from justice. The new allegations of child poisoning were the final straw. In August of 2024, Joshua Hunsucker's bond was revoked, and he was sent back to jail to await trial.
Not guilty.
He has pleaded not guilty to all of the charges stacked against him: first-degree murder, insurance fraud, arson, witness intimidation, and child abuse. As the legal system slowly moves toward a trial scheduled for September 2026, a case that began with a mother's intuition has spiraled into an unbelievable saga of escalating madness. It's a story that reveals how the deepest betrayals often come from the very people we are supposed to trust with our lives. As Joshua Hunsucker awaits his day in court, the question isn't just whether a jury will find him guilty. It's what other dark secrets are still buried with the ashes of the picture-perfect life he worked so hard to sell. This case is filled with shocking twists and turns. But what part of this story stands out the most to you? Let us know in the comments below. For more deep dives into complex cases, make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next investigation.